Broncos country, what's going on? Boy Mark here with Marky Sports. Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening, man. Has the Broncos safety positional group this year improved even after the semi-shocking release of Justin Simmons earlier in the offseason? We'll break that down today on the Broncos positional review. We are going to be reviewing the safeties. If you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button below. If you're not subscribed, would always appreciate showing support to the channel. I'm on a mission to get to 500 subscribers. And if you love all things football, Denver Broncos, if you love NBA and you like the Denver Nuggets, and if you really like NHL and you like the Colorado Avalanche, this is the channel for you as we cover all things Denver professional sports, except the Rockies because they deserve 0% of my time. And we'll also be doing a lot of NFL fantasy football news here in the coming weeks as well that I'm super pumped out about. So if you guys haven't already, smash that subscribe. It'll help me out a lot. Appreciate y'all tuning in. So let's look at the safety position, guys. So let's kind of take it back to earlier in the off season. Um, really, with all of the terrible last few years of football, the Broncos kind of had a bright spot in the safety position always. One of them is Justin Simmons, somebody that Broncos country loves. They should. I love him. Just respect him so much on and off the field. He was such a great player. And I always felt so bad for him because he was such a good guy and such an amazing talent and a great player. But for a team that was so bad, he ended up getting drafted the year after we won the Super Bowl, and he's never even played in a playoff game. And so when we released him, it was a bittersweet thing for me because I obviously understood the move. I agreed with the move, especially given the direction the team was moving in. And I was really happy for him because I'm happy for him to get an opportunity to hopefully play for a team that can compete, a fresh start for him and his family, and hopefully he can get to play in not only playoff games but hopefully win a championship. And it is unfortunate that I won't be here, but who know? Who knows, man? Maybe there's gonna be a late career reunion at some point. That's something down the road. So he's still unsigned, and we're waiting to see where he goes. But, after that happened, I was happy with this youth movement, particularly because I really loved PJ Locke. I think, the tape that we've seen and all the football that we've seen PJ Locke play, the guy just proves that he belongs. He's a versatile player. He can play a multitude of positions. He can play free safety or strong, really just the left or the right of the field, as Sean Payton, typically describes. He can play in the box. He can rush the passer. He's a fun player, man. He's energetic, and he's really good on special teams too. And Caden Stearns, same kind of thing. The difference is with Caden Stearns and PJ Locke to an extent is that injuries have really plagued their careers, right? Caden Stearns was that guy that showed a crazy amount of talent. He was ready to take the leap and become a starter, a couple seasons ago. But injuries kept derailing his season, kept him out for the year, and then had him miss really a couple seasons in length, and that's why we kind of kept Kareem Jackson around until ultimately we decided to release him late last year. But I do love those two players, um, and those are going to be kind of the highlights of the safety group. Obviously, aside from the free agent signing that we got in Brandon Jones. So let's really break them down one by one. So when you talk about PJ Locke is somebody that's kind of just steady Eddie, right? He's that guy, that undrafted kid a few years back, still really, really young. He's just 27 years old. He was undrafted. I think he played at Texas, right? He's like one of the 10 Longhorns we have on this team. And the guy's just found like he just grinded away. He signed as a college undrafted free agent with the Steelers. He ended up being on their practice squad, and then the Broncos signed him off the Steelers practice squad late in the 2019 season. It was a lost year. It was a good signing, sometimes by teams to see, okay, let's get this guy's rights and see what it is that we can do. And he's been really solid. He's been really, really solid for us. He's had his fair share of injuries as well, but the guy's a good playmaker, and I love to have undrafted guys make this team, man. I really do because you can just tell. Like a lot of the times, if you just watch the film or you see people play, you can just tell that man that guy's undrafted. The way Philip Lindsay used to run, the way C.J. Anderson used to run the rock as an undrafted guy. Obviously, the way that Chris Harris Jr. played the cornerback position undrafted. Man, the guy was just like every play. Didn't matter if he was in his 10th season, on his third contract. He just had a certain chip on his shoulder. He really, really did. Alex Singleton, you see him out there playing with his hair on fire. So I really love watching those guys that are undrafted that just come into the league and take it by storm. And this guy's really embraced it, and you can see it. Jaquan McMillian is another guy that's an example in the secondary that I mean, he's like just all gas, no brakes, man, all the time. And PJ Luck's kind of got a lot of that in him. He's quite an undersized guy. At 5'10" as a safety, not ideal height, but 202 pounds. He definitely doesn't look like he's a you know got some thickness to him, got some weight, but overall he's a pretty undersized guy when it comes to the safety position. But he's a really good player. Good tackler, plays in the box, like I said, and hopefully can just start to put together some string of healthy years because he is not only going to get his chance to be a starter, he will be a starter. But Sean Payton had said this is somebody that we see that could potentially be wearing the C, be a captain for this team this year in PJ Lock. His teammates love him, the coaching staff love him, and I love to see that development. Those are things that it's a kudos and it's a testament to the Broncos front office and scouts because there are a lot of these guys, and that's why in a lot of these videos that I make, you're going to hear the word intriguing or exciting because there's a lot of unknowns, but man, there's a lot of potential upside, and I think that's really what not only is going to make this offseason so fun, but it's going to make the season really, really fun to watch too. And I've really liked to see those young guys come in and shine. And that's another positive I was thinking about earlier too, is when you're a really bad football team, as a fan, it's obviously extremely frustrating. This has been the worst drought really of my entire lifetime as a Bronco fan. But always at the end of the year, they start to play these young guys. They kind of start to see what it is that we have in players. And those moments and those games really weigh a lot more towards the future than I think wins and losses and draft positions and all that do. Because it shows, guys that are going out there and just giving it 110%, playing like it's their last game, doing what they can to make plays. And those guys got, those guys are playing for their lives and they have very, very limited opportunity to shine. And that's where you can really start to see, all right, there's something here, there's something there. And I think we started to see that with PJ Lock in the 2019 and the 2020 season before he ultimately started to really make his mark on his team over the last couple of years. But he's a really solid rated player overall when it comes to PFF. He does struggle a little bit more in coverage than you'd like to see, but he's amazing against the run. And he's amazing as a pass rusher. He's graded a 93.3 according to PFF as a pass rusher and 74.8 when it comes to his defensive rush grade. Overall, 64. His coverage was just below average at 55. And in the 2022 season, it's a little bit of the same, but it's kind of flipped, right? Which I always kind of like to see this with players because it is different defense, and so what they're called to be doing is different. So in 2022, he could have been called to play a lot more um, you know, uh, pass rushing snaps, for example. And then he graded out really, really well in coverage versus in the run defense, he kind of struggled a little bit more. So you got to deep dive into it. I mean, I'm not sure if that's entirely the case, but I definitely never mind seeing it. But when you look over the past three, the past few years, last year and 2023 and 2022 are really the years where he got legitimate snap opportunities, legitimate opportunities to play football and to really shine. And so he's kind of somebody that's still uh, a pointing high, but really thought it was interesting, man. When you talk about what Sean Payton said, you talk about reading through the tea leaves of him saying this is somebody that we view that could be wearing a C on his jersey, be a captain for this team. That's a very organic thing to bring up. He could have easily just said, he's a really great player. We project him to be a starter. We're excited to have him. He's ascending. He fits what we're doing. That's it. To go out on the limb and to say, this guy has the potential to be a captain for the team is huge. And kudos to him, man. I'm excited to see PJ Lock rocking that number 6, which at first I did not like, but I started to really dig it. The number 6 is starting to suit him a little bit. So hopefully he can continue to rock out. Player number 2, man, is obviously, Brandon Jones. Now, he was like our prized free agent, signing this offseason, even though I think the trade for John Franklin Myers was probably the biggest and most impactful one, and he's probably the best player. Brandon Jones was the first signing that we got. I'm not surprised that it was a safety to cover him. And then you start digging into him and you start seeing a lot what the coaching staff is saying. And what you see is that the coaching staff loves his versatility. One thing that they had said time and time again, not just Sean Payton, but Vance Joseph said this. Jim Leonard, the defensive pass game coordinator and secondary coach, said the same thing. This guy can play everywhere. When you look at the tape, you see him playing the strong safety position. You see him playing the free safety position. Um, you see him be able to get in the box and play there as well. And he projects differently athletically than all the other guys. He's probably the most athletic. He's a little bit of a bigger guy, and he's somebody that can play the run, play the pass. He can be a really good matchup nightmare for a lot of teams at 6'1", a little bit longer, a little bit more length there. So I'm excited to see Brandon Jones and what he can do. To be quite honest, I didn't know too much about him before we signed him. Um, and so when you start to do your homework and dig into him, you start to see he's one of those guys that's a little bit more was a little bit more under the radar, but he obviously impressed a lot of teams because he was pretty highly touted as a free agent this season, and he got a pretty decent contract, from the Broncos as well. So definitely can't complain about him it was a 3-year deal with the Broncos, 11 million of that guaranteed, 20 million in total. Essentially, it's a 2-year, $11 million deal. So it's not a really really big contract, but it's definitely a contract that you see a lot of players sign when a team is saying you're going to be our starter and we think that there's a lot of upside to you, and it's kind of like it really is a prove it deal for a couple of years to be able to have him. So um, I think that you know I project personally for Brandon Jones and PJ Locke to be the starting safeties of this team. I think Caden Stearns is absolutely going to get his opportunities as he should, and if he stays healthy, he will push for a starting position or a lot of playing time because we've got at that point we'll have a lot of young guys and a lot of good depth. But, just like the rest of our corners, the guy, projects really well to, be sent off the blitz. He was rated very, very highly at 78.5 in coverage, last year. And the year before, he was really, really great in run defense, and it was kind of just well-rounded. Like I said, whatever it is that he's looking at doing, he can do. Obviously, he played with Miami for the last couple of seasons. Last year, Miami's defensive coordinator was Vic Fangio. There's a lot of carryover from the Vic Fangio defense to the kind of defense that Vance Joseph ultimately likes to run. So we expect for that transition over to our team, I think to be really positive. And I'm super excited to see Brandon Jones rocking that Broncos uniform and specifically that number 22. Man, I loved it. 22 is definitely my favorite number. Well, two is my favorite number, but 22 is my favorite double digit number. The number that I would choose if I was a player for sure that played anything besides quarterback. And Kareem rocked out on it, man, for the years that we had him. I really do love Kareem Jackson. I just think he was a dog. But excited to see what Brandon Jones can do. And the third guy we're highlighting here is Caden Stearns, right? And Caden Stearns is just one of those guys. You can even kind of go about it and say he's the Greg Dulcich of safeties in a sense. I mean, he's played a little bit more than Greg Dulcich, but man, like when he's played, he's looked really good. But my goodness, he just cannot seem to stay healthy. And so I don't really have too much, too many high expectations for him, just because we got to see how his body ends up, reacting to everything. And is it going to let him down? Are these freak injuries, or is he just an injury-prone guy? Something that we'll never really know. But he's a he's a really really solid player. He's kind of a do-it-all safety. And it's funny because when you look at these three guys, they all three of them don't really master one thing in particular, but they're all very good at everything or very solid at everything, which is nice. And it also is like I'm going to use the word again. It's very intriguing because it's going to see okay, what are the coaching staff's vision for these guys? What kind of situations, what kind of packages are they going to have for them? They're going to be specialty players. Are they going to be playmakers? Are they going to be, is Brandon Jones going to be the guy that's covering Travis Kelsey? We'll have to see. Caden Stearns has shown that when he's healthy, man, he can ball. 4 interceptions in his NFL career. Four. That's pretty crazy when you think about it. And he has not played a lot of games. He's played in a total of 21 games. He only played in one game last year. He played in 15 games in his first year as a starter, or well, not really as a starter, but as a full time kind of player that was getting a lot of playing time. In 2021, he got 2 picks, and in 2022, he got 2 picks. So you can see, and in 2022, he only played in 5 games. He started 3 of them, and he got 2 interceptions. So essentially what you're seeing from a trend standpoint is that the guy gets really 2 to 3 interceptions a year if he plays the entire season. That's kind of what he's averaging. Um, so he's just kind of that dude that seems to have a nose for the football, but yeah, the injury concerns have been concerning. Aside from them kind of all projecting to be very similar, they're all kind of the similar height and weight and size for the most part. They all kind of do everything really well. All three of these dudes went to Texas as well. They were all Texas Longhorns. A lot of them played on the same teams together. And it's just crazy how those kinds of things go full circle. So shout out to the Longhorns, man. These guys have always looked good in that burnt orange, and they're coming over to our Broncos country orange. I guess you could say. I guess you can call it that. So let me know what you guys think, man. Who's an intriguing prospect to you? What do you guys think that the safety position is ultimately going to shape out as? I will tell you that there is a certain player on this team right now that I believe can be the absolute dark horse. So when I say dark horse, I say this guy has the potential to bring an attribute that none of the other safeties on the Broncos current roster have. And he could, if he develops properly, can be an absolute game changer. And that guy is JL Skinner. JL Skinner is kind of like sized like a linebacker at 6'4", 220. I loved him when we took him out of Boise State. He fell. There were some injury concerns. I was fine with it. Kind of redshirted last year. But when you have a guy like that's that long and tall and a physical type of a player like a JL Skinner, you cannot help but wonder and be intrigued by him. So I think he's somebody that can turn a lot of heads depending on how he's developing as an actual NFL player. Um, so we'll see. Delaire Turner Yell, I think we know what it is that we have in him. Special teams guy. He's definitely going to be on the roster bubble. And I'm interested to find out about Omar Brown. Omar Brown was one of those undrafted guys that we signed this year. They got a pretty good signing bonus, which means this team probably liked him a lot. I think if he makes this team, it will be because his specialty is not necessarily safety, more on special teams. But same with Delaire Internal Yell. I mean, Delaire Internal Yell has shown that he's actually a really good special teams player. But JL Skinner, man, keep an eye out for him. Don't forget about JL in this kind of crowded but young safety group. Anyways, I love this group. I think that it's going to be a really fun secondary, man, between the corners that we reviewed a couple days ago and the safeties this year. It's going to be fun, fun, fun to see. I can't wait to see the competition. I can't wait to see how it plays out. And overall, I would grade, as it stands right now, our safety group as a C minus. Um, I think that we have a lot of upside potential. I think we've got a lot of guys that can become really good players, but we are definitely not established at all. We don't have any Pro Bowlers. We don't have any guys that are established vets or anybody that have proven themselves to be very, very good players in this league. We just got some guys that have proven to show flashes and be solid. So that's why for me it's at a C minus. It's not lower because we got a lot of talent. We got a lot of good young players, but it's not higher for the reasons I stated prior. What do you guys think? Put it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear you guys' comments always. It's much appreciated. Anyways, y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening, man. I'm signing off. Spend time with those people that you love. Wonderful mile high salute to each and every one of y'all. And as usual, peace out.